Today's Behind the Bloom podcast is a companion to episode number 307, Flowers for Celebrating Life. I'll share my flower history with Memorial Day in Nebraska, and we'll visit my hometown and arrange flowers with my Marine Corps dad for Veterans Day. I'll create a tribute to the guy who taught me to tie my shoes, and we'll learn more about celebrating life with flowers, of course. It's all up next on Behind the Bloom with RJ and me. Flowers help us say what we can't, and that is most evident in the times of sympathy, condolences, and grief. Flowers are so powerful when it comes to helping us pay the respect that is due, or saying what we can't find the words for when we or others have lost loved ones. Your local independent professional florist is highly skilled at creating flowers to celebrate life. It's the perfect way to show your respects. Cal Flowers is a proud sponsor of Behind the Bloom podcast, where flowers and wellness go hand in hand.
Hello, Jay.
Hello. Celebrating life today.
Celebrating life, yeah. This was a super special episode. I watched this and was like, wow, this was just really special to see you with your dad. I'm setting this up to say I'm really excited to dive into all this.
I think what's interesting about it is that when I had my store, I hated weddings. Let me just be clear. I hate brides. I hate their mothers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do that. I hate how long it takes to do the whole thing. I just think it's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
There is no affinity whatsoever for me about a wedding. I don't like it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite thing was making funeral arrangements for people.
Oh.
I loved that because I felt like there's so much expectation in a wedding. You're never going to be able to make it perfect. They do say, nothing shows people's true colors like weddings and funerals. And I think that that's true too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the thing about a funeral is that you can help. There's a helping part.
Yeah.
Weddings there's expectations, huge expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I just love talking to the families. I like helping them turn their feelings into flowers. And I think that happens so much with funerals. I don't think you're turning people's feelings into flowers as much with weddings. It's more of an expectation. Moms have ideas of what their daughters' weddings are going to look like, and daughters have their own ideas of what they want their wedding to look like, and those don't meet always. And, but just the sympathy part of it, I think I had to get used to. When I would make a bridal bouquet and I would hand it to somebody, they would cry.
Mm.
And I was always afraid I'd screwed up. And I hated that. And I always had to manage that because then they were like, no, it's perfect. I just love it. And their emotions are really high. Their emotions are super high. So that always threw me. But when you would see people and they would just be like, this casket spray or this arrangement is so beautiful. This is exactly what we wanted.
Oh.
That's the whole deal behind this. And when I brought this up to American Public Television, they were like, you're going to do a show about funerals? And I was like, well, we're going to do a show about, celebrating life. And yeah, it is about funerals and it's about things like that and memorials and things. And I think that that's important. They were like, well, okay. I have the same thing coming up for season 10. We're doing a show about how to say goodbye to your pets. I had a meeting about it the other day and they're like, are you sure? I don't know. We don't know. And I was like, no, it's important.
Mm-hmm.
It's important and it's part of something that we have to do. Sometimes sitting down, figuring out how to do something uncomfortable in a comfortable way to provide education and provide knowledge and share joy and stuff like that is super important. This was where it started. It started with this episode. The Bent Wreath is my trick, and it isn't in the book. I looked in the book. It's not there. It was really funny. I thought, there's a video about this. Well, the video wasn't on the website.
Oh.
And so I mounted it to the website the other day when I was reading through the outlines for this. And so I'm going to put the link down below for the Bent Wreath. But it's taking a plastic wreath and bending the back of it so it can sit on the edge of a table.
Cool.
And you can use it for a cremation ceremony. You could use it for a unity candle. You could use it for Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a unique way to look at it. So you bend the wreath and then arrange it so that it looks like it's hanging off the edge of a table. And it's just, and the video will explain it much more, but it's really cute. It's a trick that's done with 2 candles.
Oh, okay.
And melting plastic.
Oh, that's
with
fun.
Fire. So there's that. I put the link down below for
Okay.
you so that you can see that and you can go watch it. But the Bent Wreath is something that I would do a lot for funerals.
Mm.
I would also do it very frequently for unity candles at a wedding too, because it was a great way to have something on the altar that transcended sitting flat on top of an altar. It faces the audience more.
Mm-hmm.
The audience, the congregation, the
audience.
whatever. The audience. Yeah, that's
an
how
audience.
I refer to. There's an audience for a wedding too. That's another reason I don't like it. This was also an opportunity part of the deal was that I was always telling the boys about the greenhouses and my family and everything that went on in Nebraska when we were making the shows for uBloom, and they were like, "We wanna go there," and I was like, "All right." So we loaded them up and we took them to Nebraska. They were just like, "Oh my god, it's all," it was funny because they would also say to me, "We don't think your stories are also true," you know?
They would say that, your crew?
Yeah, grandpa
Oh, come on, guys.
my grandpa had a saying, "Never let the truth stand in the way of a good story." That's what my grandma always said. And they were like, "We thought maybe but no," like we went down I have to remember to do this. I gotta write myself a note about this. There's footage of me scooping coal in my house
Oh.
and putting it into the hopper.
Where you hurt your back?
Yeah, and so there's footage of that, and we've never done anything with it. We
Yeah.
just need to put it up because I mean,
Yeah.
it's out there,
Yeah.
maybe if we do a show about black,
Oh,
we could
yeah.
talk about the coal and yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, so there's that. And like we went to the basement of my house and of my sister's house, and we went out to dinner and had huge prime rib. So it was me and Keith and Chris and Kelly and my mom and dad. And we went out to this restaurant in Arlington, Nebraska, and it was called The Place. That was
The place?
the place.
The place.
And we had prime rib and cocktails and salads and everything. And all 6 of us ate for less than $100.
What? No way.
I know.
That's
And
incredible.
The guys were like, "This is crazy." And I was
Yeah.
like, "We're in cow country, so this is what you do."
Yeah.
There was an experience I cannot talk about
Oh,
because it
okay.
is not politically correct because my dad was an old Marine and was in World War II.
Okay.
But my dad brought out his bayonet to show the
Wow.
guys.
Okay.
And all I will say about this is I can tell you part of the story, but I can't tell you exactly the whole story.
Okay.
But the guy said, "Well, Mr. Schwanke, you just seem like such a fastidious man, why that you let your bayonet get all rusty?" And he said, "No, that's blood."
Whoa.
Yeah. That's all the further
Okay.
I can go about it.
Okay.
But they were just like, "Oh my God, your dad." And I was like, I know. So my dad was a Marine because now he's past tense because he's gone.
Mhm.
But my dad was a Marine. So it was difficult being raised by a guy who is a Marine. He wanted me to be more Marine-like. We have a neighbor across the street, JP, who is a Marine. My dad would adore that my friend across the street from me is a Marine. And that we talk to him when he's walking his dogs. And my dad would just be like, "That JP is such a great guy. He's he's the best. He's a Marine. I can tell." My dad would just be, and it would just be like, "Oh my God." So yeah, so there's that. That's part of the background of it. And the fact that I went to military preschool that was called, military preschool because it was on Military Street, but my dad was all in because he thought it was military preschool. "We're going to send Jay to military preschool." Perfect. That's the best thing that kid needs. And when his brother died, his brother was in the hospital dying from Parkinson's disease. My dad said, "You know what Earl's problem is? He wasn't a Marine. He wasn't in the service." It's just like, oh my God, So, I mean, I get it. I understand. Everything had Semper Fi on it. My dad always had his Marine blanket in the back of the thing. That was a way of life for him. And he was hit by a Japanese hand grenade in Okinawa and spent 25 months in a Hawaiian hospital being put back together.
Oh, wow.
He lost his eye, he lost an ear, he lost part of a leg from that. And that was always an important part of what he did. And so he was very proud of that, and I am thankful for his service, and I appreciate that. And he fought for our freedom, and that's a very, very important thing. And his mother faked his birth certificate so that he could enlist in the Marines the day that they bombed Pearl Harbor so that he could go. His best friend and him enlisted. His best friend died the day that he got hit by the hand grenade.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that's a lot of stuff. That is a lot of stuff that I have huge respect for. And that's also part of this, the whole thing. It's a big deal. I always think it was interesting. My dad wanted to be a funeral director. That's what he was thinking. He came back and he worked in a munitions factory in Meade for 4 months so that he wouldn't get a medical discharge. He wanted an honorable discharge because he's a Marine and he didn't want to be medically discharged. He wanted to be honorably discharged. So that was a big thing. And then he was working in a funeral home to become a funeral director when he met my mom.
Oh,
And
wow.
then my mom asked him to come work for the flower shop.
Mm.
And so he was gonna be a mortician. I mean, crazy stories with that as well. So,
Oh,
yeah. But, yeah, so Memorial Day was
once the biggest flower day? More than Mother's Day, which is currently
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Mother's Day is the biggest
Mhm,
holiday because everybody has a mother.
mhm,
Valentine's Day is number 2
mhm,
because
okay.
not everybody has a lover,
Yeah.
but everybody has a mother. So my mom, we would do 6,000. We were in a town of 25,000 people. Okay. We would go to the cemetery. We delivered 6,000 bouquets. We would place them on the Sunday before Memorial Day. Me, my dad, my brother in law, and a guy who worked for us. Or sometimes it was my cousins. It was always changing. We're always trying to get people to figure out who they were gonna, who was gonna help us
Mhm.
and stuff.
6,000?
6,000. And
Wow.
so what would happen is you'd go down
Mhm,
these rows, you had to organize stuff. And so we had a little book. It was a little black book and it organized people by name
mhm,
and by where their grave was. And so then we would organize those because we would go down an aisle and we would have bouquets for almost everyone. And so it would be like, okay, here's this person, this person, this person. Oh, we don't have one for this. Okay, then this person, this person, this person, this. And so we would know those.
mhm,
Almost all these graves had a vase that you would twist out of the ground and pull up and invert. So then I was the water boy. So I would have to wash off the vase. I would wash off the grave
mhm,
because there would be grass clippings and stuff like that. So that was also part of the service we provided.
okay.
Wash off the vase, wash off the grave, then put the flowers in there, and then take the tag off and put it inside the arrangement so it wasn't sticking out like a flag that was an advertisement for our company because that was against my dad's principles, which is
Oh.
a great thing. I mean, all very
Mhm,
respectful.
mhm,
Our company also had trust funds that we had established for a long time when you used to be able to make money at the bank. So then people would put money in a trust to have flowers delivered for years.
oh, wow.
There were these 3 people, and one of the people that we would put it for, her name was Fairy Opal Ray. That was how I remembered her name, Fairy Opal Ray.
Mhm,
We had 3 arrangements for those. Those were the ones that my great-grandfather had set up, and those bouquets were $1.30. That
oh,
was
wow.
the interest that we got, and my dad would just say, "You make those pretty." We had had
Oh,
those for such a long time, you make those pretty. And then there finally came the day when I was still in the flower shop that interest rates were gone, and so we couldn't make any money, and we had to dissolve most of them.
oh,
I don't even know if the guy, because the flower shop isn't really a flower shop anymore, now it's a bar. So I don't know if the guy, they still do a few flowers out of there, but I don't know. I think he still puts flowers on my mom and dad's grave, or my grandma and grandpa's grave. I'm not really sure. We would do those, and you would have this book. My dad would be carrying the bouquet, and he'd whistle at us and point and then lay him down, and then I was coming up with the buckets of water,
oh,
and so it was always like take, and then we would start at 5 a.m. and we would be done by noon, and in the middle when we would switch cemeteries, or 2 different cemeteries, we'd go have pancakes at the house with my mom and
mm,
then go back out again. You would get eaten alive by mosquitoes, eaten
oh,
alive,
oh
and
gosh.
then it was so much dew, everything you wore was soaked, and so you when you got home, you were freezing and you were wet.
Oh gosh.
And it was just
Yeah.
like, we didn't have that kind of business for Mother's Day or for Valentine's Day back then. It was about Memorial Day. And
Mm,
so Decoration Day is what it was, same thing, both the same holiday.
mhm.
Then we would drive through the cemeteries to look at all the flowers.
Oh,
Because
wow.
there were 5 other florists in town and they were doing flower arrangements too. And it was always really stunning to go see the cemeteries just full of
Oh, I
flowers,
bet. Yeah.
and it was
Mhm.
it was amazing.
Wow.
And that's what I was raised on, and as we're recording this, no one knows this, but Memorial Day is the end of this week,
Oh, yeah, I know.
and I will be sleeping in on Memorial Day.
You don't have to work anymore, Jay, and
I
be
do not
doing
have to go.
arrangements and
Yeah.
getting eaten by mosquitoes at 5
What was
AM.
interesting too is we had to make all these arrangements, right? The lady who worked in our flower shop, who had been worked for us for 67 years, would come back and help me, who was our accountant, because she knew how to make Memorial Day arrangements.
Oh, wow. How much I mean, 6,000, how much time does that take to
It would take us a week.
a week? Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
There would be probably 7 or 8 of us working on them.
Wow.
My dad would be making them too, and my dad would be just like, "This is what a $7 one should look like." And we were all like, "Oh God, okay, add more flowers," you know. That was why we had a peony farm in Kansas. We had a peony farm near Lawrence, Kansas, so that we were always ensured we could have peonies for Memorial Day, because peonies in Nebraska aren't necessarily all blooming. Like, it's Memorial Day weekend. There's no peonies behind. You don't see any. There's peonies all out there. You don't see any peonies yet. They're not there. That was how my great-grandfather died. He went down to check the peonies in March to see how they were doing, and there was a freak snowstorm coming back, and he drove with his head out of the side of the Model T Ford that he was driving to see his way to get home, and he got pneumonia and died.
Oh, gosh.
So, I mean, you know, it's all interlaced with all that stuff, you know? And that's why who we are. That is who we are, and that's why who we are. I have no regrets being raised by a Marine. I have no regrets being raised by my mother. I have no regrets going to military preschool. I have no regrets going out and doing all of that stuff on Memorial Day. It gives me a huge appreciation. My grandpa would always say, Memorial Day is no longer Decoration Day. It's the first day we go to the beach or put the boat in the water. And I think it's changed, because we don't recall that. In another episode coming up, there is a thing called the Memorial Day Flower Foundation. We invited them to come to Grand Rapids, and we joined the Gold Star and Silver Star families to place a flower on every grave in the Veterans Memorial Cemetery here in Grand Rapids. And we filmed that for our show. And that's what the Memorial Day Flower Foundation does every year at the National Cemetery and at many others. I think it's 30 or 40 now in the United States now. They do one at the Veterans Cemetery in the Presidio. They do it all over the country. It's a big deal, and it's the Memorial Day Flower Foundation, and it is supported by Cal Flowers. And it's another thing that Cal Flowers does to make sure that we don't forget about Memorial Day, because it is extremely important to remember the people who sacrificed their life for our freedom. That's period. Period. Next paragraph.
Yeah.
Bearded iris.
Yes.
So my grandma would call these flags. I don't know why. This was my other grandma. So my grandma Schwanke would always say, make sure you put, I never met my grandpa Schwanke. He died at 57, massive heart attack. I was always put flowers on his grave, and she said, make sure there's some flags in it. And I was like, what does that mean? You know, my dad was like, bearded iris. She wants bearded iris and peony in it.
And was she the only person you had heard use that term to refer to those? Okay.
Yeah. You know, I was just like, and I don't know whether she was German. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
Oh, yeah.
But she would just always refer to it as flags. Iris is the ancient Greek goddess of the rainbow.
I thought this was such a cool way to tie all this in with the link between heaven and earth. And
we have bearded iris in the yard, and we love them. I bought a whole bunch of different ones. So I have like a black one, and I have a brown one, and there's a caramel colored one, and there's a peach one and a yellow one, and we just have those. And iris are really easy. The thing about iris is, though, that they need to be planted very shallow.
Oh, okay.
So, like, the rhizomes should be out of, like, you can see them. You should be able to see them. If you bury them too deep, they won't bloom.
Oh, okay.
Got to make sure that they're right on the ground level. And they love cold. They have to have cold.
Okay. Yeah.
Just like peonies. And peonies are very similar in that peonies can't be planted too deep either. When I planted peonies at my house one time, I was like, they're not blooming. And the guy from Flowerland, Rick Feist, said to me, who works for Proven Winners now, he said, they're too deep. And he said, just go in with a pitchfork and stick it under the roots and then just lift them up and let the dirt fall away. And I did that, and they all bloom.
Oh, cool.
They all bloomed. They were buried too deep. So lifting them up with a pitchfork or a spading fork will help you get them closer to the surface if you're not getting as many blooms as you'd like. And they like the cold. They have to have sub-zero temperatures to bloom again. And that's why they don't grow in Florida. They don't grow in California, you know, except in greenhouses in California. But I mean, but they grow more in like Washington. Where the whole peony world is in Alaska. Alaska has.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, we want to go up there and film up there, and that would be fun. There's a huge peony, and it's a little bit later, so they can get peonies that will last like through July, maybe August.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
cool,
because it's just a little bit cooler. So yeah. Did you know flowers perform best in clean water with the precise food? Chryso flower food is formulated by scientists to prolong the vase life of flowers as much as possible, and it's easy to use. I always choose Chryso flower food because it feeds the flowers, resulting in vibrant color and enhanced fragrance, while also keeping bacteria levels down. My personal favorite product is Chrysal Professional 3. If you want to experience the benefits, Chrysal Flower Food products are available at their website, chrysalflowerfood.com. That's CHRYSAL flowerfood.com. And be sure to use our discount code uBloom10 for 10% off your purchase. Support the joy of flowers. The Life in Bloom Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to flower education and inspiring a love of flowers in everyone. The foundation helps fund the production of Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom on public television, making it possible for viewers across the country to enjoy the beauty and benefits of flowers. The foundation also provides free flower education to high schools, colleges, and floriculture programs through uBloom.com, helping students and future florists bloom in their own careers. Your donation in any amount makes a difference. Plus, all contributions are 100% tax deductible. If you'd like to help us continue sharing the power of flowers, visit thelifeinbloomfoundation.org to donate today. Thank you for your support. So then we were arranging with Dad. I will tell you that this is when my dad started to get Alzheimer's. And so we knew it was coming. And so that was also an impetus for me to go back and do this. So now this is very interesting. And I just think that this is how Alzheimer's works. My dad was mean. And people would always say, employees who worked at Greens would say, you could go anywhere after you worked at Greens and say, I worked for Mel Schwanke at Greens. And they were like, well, then you're hired because you can put up with anything. Because my dad was the original, look busy. And my dad would come in and pick up a flower on the floor and say, I found a quarter on the floor. And I mean, you always made sure you looked busy. And me as a kid, I think it's interesting because I just always felt that I was a very happy person. And I feel like the corners of my mouth naturally turn up.
Mhm.
And so when I would just be standing there listening to my dad yell at me, he would be like, and wipe that smile off your face. And I was just like,
That's just how you naturally.
serious. Yeah, we physically threw each other out of the store, like he picked me up by the back of my shirt and the back of my pants and threw me out of the shop. And I did the same thing to him. My dad was the president of the Society of American Florists, and they would have these seminars and these conventions about passing your flower business on to your children. They would ask me to be on there and say, this is not fun.
Oh.
You need to all understand this is not fun. That's the biggest regret I think I have was being in business with my mom and dad. And we did not have similar, business acumen. I was more like my grandma and grandpa, and my dad was strict business. He ran it like a Marine.
Mm-hmm.
My dad would also tell the story. I mean, this is just another thing is when he was in the Marine Corps and he was in boot camp and he was screwing around and his drill sergeant came up and hit him in the helmet with his fist and it cut him and blood was dripping down in his eyes and he had to stand in the sun for 6 hours. My dad was proud of that story.
Oh, yeah.
And felt that there was nothing wrong with that.
There's
also a book about all of these people in Nebraska who were in World War II and the trials and tribulations they have. And they wrote the story about my dad in it. And I have that book as well. And I've given that book to many people. And we had a love-hate relationship. And this was a really nice part about it because as the Alzheimer's progressed, my dad became nicer.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned into this sweet little old man that everybody loved. That was a really cool redemption for him, and this was when it had started. And so this was why I wanted to go back when he still remembered. Now, after this show, the next time I went back there, he didn't know who I was anymore. And so that was very interesting. And we would talk and stuff, and he would say, well, I know that you say that you're my son, but you're not my son. Let me go get a picture. And he would bring me back a picture of me in high school and say, this is my son. I know you say you're my son, but you're not, because that's my son. And I was like, okay, and my dad was not a public display of affection person at all. You did not hug him. You did not say, I love you. None of that. None of that was allowed at our house. Okay. So then I started when he had Alzheimer's, I would hug him and tell him I loved him. And it made him extremely uncomfortable.
Oh.
And so the last time I saw him, I went back and I said, we were just kind of cutting up and I was getting ready to leave. And so I grabbed him and I hugged him and I said, I love you. And I said, I really love you, Dad. And I want you to know that. And he said, I know that you tell me that you're my son. And I know that you're not because you're not like my son. And I was never proud of my son, but I am proud of you. If you were my son, I would be very proud of you.
Oh.
And I thought that was a huge win
Mm.
because he liked the person I'd become.
Yeah.
And I think all the disappointment of me being, whatever I was when I was a kid and lazy and, I don't know, all that stuff. I don't feel that that's a sad story. I think that
Mm-mm.
that's a wonderful story. The thing that my dad loved more than anything in the world was the flower industry.
Oh, yeah.
That is what he loved. That built inside me all the passion I have today. That built the stories I have. That built the experiences we created. That led me to create a nonprofit show where we don't get paid. We pay all the licensing and distribution for everybody across this country so that we can tell the story of flowers. That's what my dad passed on to me, was to give back to the flower industry everything that you can. That's where I learned that. So however anybody thinks about me and my relationship with my dad and all that stuff, this is why this all happened. This all happened because of Mel Schwanke. This happened because of Joey Schwanke. This happened because of Joe and Lily Green and my grandma Schwanke and all those people. That's what I learned. I learned that. But along the way, because of other people like Dorothy, I learned compassion and I learned kindness. I know I was on the show one time in Chattanooga and they said, what do you hope people will remember about you? And I hope that people remember that I was kind because my dad wasn't. He was not a kind person. I remember that. And now when he died, everybody, he was a sweet little old man at that point in time and everybody thought he was great, but yeah, so, and I think that's all good. That's good redemption for everybody, but I could still remember. And I remember my sisters were just like, oh, poor daddy's gone and everything. I was like, okay, now wait, y'all remember this guy could be a real asshole, correct? And they were like, well, yeah, but, and I'm like, well, okay, I'm just letting you know. And my mom got Alzheimer's and she got meaner and she was already mean.
Mm.
So, geez, the thing with my dad was a reward. But I love this interview. I love that our flower arrangements are different. My dad always designed differently than I do. And we put this up on our website. We put up the original episode because this is also a Fun with Flowers and Jay episode that we turned into a thing for Life in Bloom. And I would say, whose arrangement do you like better? And everybody voted for my dad's. And they were like, this is going to make you feel horrible, but we liked your dad's better. No, that doesn't make me feel horrible. I think that's wonderful. I don't know anyone who designs like my dad. My dad had a style that was all his own, and it made me happy that people thought he did a better job. That's great. I think that's what there is nothing on my shoulders, no feelings on my sleeves. I thought it looked exactly like what my dad made all the time. That's what my dad's arrangements look like. And so that's pretty cool.
He talked about stretching them out. Was that like his style? Was always, yeah.
He always wanted to see every single flower. So he didn't want flowers covering each other up. And that's kind of my thing. I think I'm definitely more a mass style of design person. I think that that's part of that. But yeah, it's a mass style of design. And I think it was interesting in here. You said, do I see myself in my dad? I will tell you right now, my dad cried a lot when he had Alzheimer's because he could remember stories.
Oh, okay.
About stuff. My favorite one was, one time his friend that was in the war with him and then was in the hospital with him came to visit our house. And my dad was traveling as the Society of American Florists president. He was in Washington, D.C. And his friend's name was Muds. And they lived in Joliet, Illinois. And him and his wife came to our house. My mom said, well, he's gone and he's not here. And they were just going to surprise him. And she said, here's the thing. He's going to call tonight at 8 o'clock. Come to the house and answer the phone. Muds came to the house. Phone rang at 8 o'clock. He picked up and he said, hello? And my dad said, Muds, what the hell are you doing in my house? Did not miss a beat.
Wow.
And I was like, how did you? And he said, we put our lives on the line together and we were together. You never forget the person and Muds dragged my dad off the field when he got hit by a hand grenade. And he said, you never forget the person who saved your life.
Wow.
And I was just like, okay, so now you ask me this question about, do I see my dad?
Mm-hmm.
when I cry, I see my dad.
Oh.
'Cause I and every once in a
Yeah.
while, I will do something, and I'll be looking in the mirror, and I'm like, "Oh my god, Mel Schwanke, there you are."
Oh.
I think I look a lot like my mom too, but I definitely look like a Schwanke. I look like my cousins, and I look like my Uncle Earl, and I look like my dad. So, I
Mhm.
mean, and my hairline and stuff is my dad's hairline and stuff, but,
It was fun seeing the 2 of you side by side arranging and you talking about that you'd done it together for 10 years, but then it had been 18 years, I think, since you
Yeah.
had done it
Well, and I
together
think the
again.
other thing was it was really nice that he was being kind to me. Because typically he would have been yelling at me the whole time. You're not doing that right. And it was funny because prior to this too, he stepped in and he said, "Do I need to make something like you're gonna make or can I make something pretty?" I was like, "You can do whatever you wish," you
Yeah.
know?
Oh.
And he's just like, "Oh, okay, good. Just do my own thing." And I was like, "Yes, please do your own thing. Do not look at my arrangement." Because the whole time I was wondering, he's going to yell at me. What are you putting that
Oh.
there for? You should have made that one. Why'd you cut off so much of that stem? And I was just kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, here we go. And so
Well, I was gonna ask how much of, like, while you were doing that, were you looking at what each other was doing? Like, not at all? Not
I
till the
was
end? Or
trying
yeah.
not to look at his.
Yeah.
In the footage, we caught him looking at mine all the time. And
Yeah.
there were a couple places that Chris cut out where he was like,
Oh.
oh, disgusted.
Oh.
What are you doing? So that's funny. When he died, I went back and made his casket spray. And that was really challenging because my dad made the prettiest casket sprays. He could get more flowers in a casket spray than anyone else. That was my success my mom said, "That looks like your dad made the casket spray, his casket spray." And I was like, and it was really funny. So I was sequestered to work with the funeral directors. And I had to change his carnation all the time. And we had a long setup of visitations and stuff. And then at the funeral, I gave the eulogy and we gave away red carnations to everybody in the audience.
Oh, wow.
So that
Yeah.
everybody could take a red carnation. I want to be part of that.
Mhm.
And so then when they were closing the casket, my mom said, "Will you stick there and get all of his stuff?" And I was like, meaning all of his. So they took off my dad's glasses. He had a tie tack that had 2 pieces of the shrapnel that my mother dug out of his leg with a corsage pin
Wow.
in this tie tack. He had his Marine Corps watch on. He had his wedding ring on. He had stuff. And so this young guy, the son of this at Ludvigson's in Fremont, Nebraska, God bless the Ludvigsons because they took such good care of my folks. John was taking all that stuff off and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Mom told me to hang out here and make sure you got everything and did everything right." And I said, "I'm actually filming it with my phone." And he said, "Well, that's real nice." And I said, "Okay, listen to me. Wouldn't you rather I film this and have it to show my mom that you did it right than my mom think that you did something that you didn't maybe even do?" And he was like, "You keep filming. You just keep filming." I said, "I know, thank you." So yeah, so I mean that was, and it was funny because when I went in to change his boutonniere all the time, I would be like, "Hey, this is off color, but it's very funny." My dad said that he was trained by this mortician who, when my dad was pinning on corsages or boutonnieres, the mortician said to my dad one time, "Just stick the pin straight in, it sticks better. It stays better."
Oh.
And so we would always laugh about that. That was always a joke,
Mhm.
and because I would have to go pin corsages on people and stuff and everything. And I said, "I just want you to remember that I'm changing your boutonniere and I am not sticking the pin straight in." Okay. Do you remember? Do you remember that? And so I was talking to him and they were just like, and I think, because you're a florist, we've talked about this before. There's just a weird thing about death. It doesn't really affect me at all because I
Mhm.
realized that that's just a show. But it was just, and it was funny. They're like, "You talk to your dad a lot when he's in the casket." And I was like, "Oh yeah." Because I was just like, and I was like, "Well, when I put the casket spray, I was like, I hope you like this. I think it's really pretty. I think it turned out well,
Mm.
so I hope you like it." I don't know. It's just that banter that you have with them. So I think that that's
Yeah.
it. So yeah. Okay. So now we went out on a whole bunch about this.
Oh.
So sorry.
No.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. So then turning your feelings into flowers. This was an arrangement that I did for a Fun with Flowers and Jay episode that was a part of the pilot for Life in Bloom. And so it
Oh.
was building this heart with the tennis shoes in it. So again, okay, now just so those of you who are all about my dad and all that stuff, and all worried about what I said about that, I was going to military preschool. So Ralph was Dorothy's husband and they were in military preschool. And one night I was sitting there and my shoes were untied and I had on little red Keds tennis shoes like are in this arrangement. And Ralph said, "Tie your shoes before we go. We're going to walk over to the movie theater. Tie your shoes." And I said, "I don't know how to tie my shoes." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Haven't your parent taught you how to tie your shoes?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Get up on this table." And he taught me how to tie my shoes because that wasn't important to my parents. I don't mean that as a bad thing. It's just that that's the way that it was, because the most important thing in my dad's world was the flower industry. Ralph Swanson taught me how to tie my shoes. And so when I did that for his actual funeral, and I actually did that for his funeral when he passed away, I recreated that. I mean, so I recreated it for this episode. My mom and dad were like, "What do you mean he taught you how to tie your shoes?" Well, he did. Because you didn't, because I was living with them. You know, I started living with them when I was 3, and I lived there till I was 11. I didn't know how to tie my shoes, so he taught me. I'm not mad about it. It's just how I remember this wonderful gentleman.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's complicated. It's really complicated. And this is why people go to therapy. For a long time.
Yeah.
To get this all organized. And it's okay. And there's nothing wrong with going to therapy. And there's nothing wrong with getting it organized, because you have to get it so it doesn't kill you and it doesn't drive you crazy or make you do horrible things or think horrible of yourself. You have to get it all straightened out. And the cool thing about it is I'm very, very thankful I had wonderful parents that were my parents. And I'm very thankful that I had Dorothy and Ralph in my family. And both of them contributed a lot to what you see today on television. And none of it's sad. None of it's sad to me. I don't think of it as being sad. I think of it as being funny. And that's why I share it in a podcast. So hopefully you all are laughing along with us and just thinking, wow, this was a lot for this, to put out here in one. But it's true. Ralph was a very, very, very kind individual. And Dorothy's dad was a firefighter. And so that I also got to go to the fire station a lot and slide down the pole and stuff like that. So it's kind of fun too.
One of my favorite things about just talking with you is just, seeing how much you're able to look back at things of your past and be able to identify this is a positive I was able to take out of it. This is kind of what shaped me to the way that I was. And I think just talking about it is so healthy. The worst thing you can do is just hold on to all that inside of you and bottle it up. And for you to be able to be so open and be able to talk about it is a really special thing. And thank you for including me in that, because I enjoy this. So yeah.
I think the other thing about that, RJ, and I will do this, is that I have to do a public service announcement. Therapy is worth everything. And therapy will keep you from getting screwed up. But the only person that can decide that you're going into therapy is yourself. And then you have to do the work. I am thankful. I had therapists in Nebraska. I had therapists in Atlanta. I have therapists here in Grand Rapids. All of that is good. And it was helpful, and it helped me explore those things. And there isn't anything wrong with anyone. There isn't anything wrong with anyone. It's just you have to figure it out. Therapists will help you do that. When you're sick and you have a cold, you take medicine. When you have the measles, you take medicine. When you have something wrong in your head, you get therapy, and it helps you. And that's what happens. And so it's extremely valuable and an extremely important thing. That is why I am able to sit back. I'm able to laugh about it. I'm able to, and you and I were talking a little bit before we got started, because I felt like these episodes are pretty emotional. And I have a sixth sense of humor. It's just that I know that I can laugh at anything, and I can find value in any challenge. And that's part of the way that therapy has allowed me to approach the world. It's extremely helpful right now when things are scary. It's extremely helpful when things are upsetting. It's extremely helpful in relationships. It's extremely helpful when you lose somebody that's very important to you. My niece, Kelly's brother, passed away. My niece is in therapy, and it's been so valuable to her. I love that she came to us and said, I've decided I'm going to do therapy. I knew she needed it, but she had to make that decision. My mother was a poster child for having never got therapy. And that's what happens. So those of you who knew my mom, that's what happens when you don't get therapy. So, okay. There's that. But yeah, but thank you. And again, it's about putting in the work. It's about putting in the work. Even if it's a little bit, even if you pick up a self-help book to start. It's a great way to start. Let's see, personalized flowers. Okay, so I'm gonna do speed round.
Speed round.
The fish. Oh my God, the
that
fish.
was so cool.
I love this one.
Yeah, I want to do a longer episode on just talking about this arrangement. I'm sorry we're out of time.
Yeah.
This was
it
so
was cool though. It really is cool, and it was just made with fake fish.
It was so
And so,
cool.
yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
flower cocktail hour was punch with flowered ice because you always have punch at a funeral.
Oh,
So
yeah.
all it was about was making the, and I was going to make the ice cream punch because in the South they make ice cream punch with lime syrup in it. And
Oh.
I was going to make that, but I thought it's a little too displaced for this. And I just wanted to be more of the focus to be about the flowers inside
Oh.
there. So that worked out well.
Mhm.
The memory garden. So the person who taught me how to make the memory garden is my friend Frankie Shelton, who has since passed away, and God rest her soul. She's a fabulous, fabulous florist. It was just a way to make a heart that was three-dimensional. And so I actually did this for my dad's funeral too. I made this, and I made it with carnations.
Oh, cool.
So that was wonderful. I would always put that. So when I would do this for a sympathy show in the flower business, in the flower industry, I would say, and then you just put the picture of your loved one in the middle of the picture, and I would put a picture of Martha Stewart in there, and the audience would just go crazy, which is very funny. Because there was a long period of time where the flower industry professionals didn't like Martha Stewart, but I like Martha Stewart now, and I like her, and I think she's got a great sense of humor and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was just funny that I would do that, and then. Did I make this one with red carnations? Is this what I made
Yes,
with red
yeah,
carnations too?
yeah.
Oh, okay, so I think I did. Typically, I would make it with roses.
Oh, okay.
Typically, I would make it with roses in the
Yeah.
shows that I would do. So then we made it in the red carnations
Mm.
here. So yeah, that's correct. But yeah, it's a great effect because then you're looking at it and it looks like a heart. And when
Yeah.
when I would make these for actual funerals, it would always be the arrangement people would take home.
Oh, yeah.
Because my grandpa. Here's the other thing about my grandpa. My grandpa was in the nursing home, and he was only in the nursing home for about 5 weeks before he died.
Mhm.
But the funeral homes would bring the funeral arrangements to the nursing home and set them up at the nursing home. And my grandpa would go out with his cane and knock them all down because he was just like, don't bring funeral arrangements to the nursing home. You guys are sick, And so I always think about that too, in that when I make flower arrangements, especially today, that are going to maybe go to another location afterwards, I try and make them not look like funeral arrangements. And that was when they looked like funeral arrangements. They were flat, they were fan-shaped, they had a bow in the front, they had mother or brother or sister or cousin on it, so they really looked like a flower arrangement. We offered a service in our flower shop then later after my grandpa passed away, where we would pick up the flowers from a flower, if they were going to send them to the nursing home, we would pick them up, remake them into bouquets that could be put around the nursing home or hospice place that looked like beautiful flower arrangements. So they didn't
that's
look
cool.
like funeral homes, so that it wasn't a sick thing. And there's so many great people who do things like that now with funerals, with weddings, where they take those to people who are in need of having flowers and the health and wellness benefits and making beautiful arrangements. One of them was in the episode this week on Life in Bloom called Flower Empower. The Dream Foundation in Santa Barbara does it. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
And they pick up all these flowers and then they go take them to people who need them in hospice and stuff. And it's all about the health and wellness benefits of flowers. So, I mean, things like that, stories like that have spawned wonderful things that have changed the way that we think about flowers. And I think that that's really, really a wonderful, wonderful testament to what we can do.
Oh,
Thanks. A special shout out. Thanks to Sam for whatever you're going to do with all this. You have all this baggage to unpack of Jay's brain in this Celebrating Life episode. So Sam, thank you for taking good care of us. I appreciate it. Write in. Tell us what you want us to do in another episode.
Oh, that was great, Jay.
Awesome. Well, thanks,
All right.
RJ. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this week on Behind the Bloom podcast with Jay Schwanke and RJ Poole. If you loved what you heard, be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And share it with a friend to help us spread the joy, one bloom at a time. Thank you for taking the time to slow down with us. And hopefully you left feeling a little lighter and inspired to try something new. Make sure to join us next week for a brand new episode. Thanks for being here with us, Behind the Bloom. Hey, just one more thing. If you love flowers, you've got to check out uBloom.com. It's the online home of Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom, where you can stream every episode for free. Plus, you'll find Behind the Bloom videos, my blog, show recipes, and so much more. There's also a massive video archive, over 1,800 how-to videos, flower farm documentaries, and even my very first series, JTV. All Life in Bloom episodes exclusive web content, and farm documentaries are totally free. Just sign up with your email. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there's a paid subscription option that unlocks the full library of how-to videos. Everything from creating bridal bouquets to centerpieces, corsages, and more. Tons of content to explore. You're gonna love it.